What's up, man? Does everything look okay? Sound okay on your end? Well, that's good. Trying to figure out how to get the PDF for the sheet music to show up like on the screen. I can add another source with it, but if I do that, it pretty much just like takes up the whole screen. So I'm not quite sure what the best way is to fit it in or to get it on screen. Yeah, I'm using Streamlabs. Like I can add a source for the PDF reader, but then it shows like the entire thing. I don't know if maybe I should like print screen and make, well, I don't know, that still would have a problem. You'd still see the photo viewer. But trying to figure out some way to get the chart like partially on screen or something. Maybe I could make like a PNG with a transparent background out of the particular image of the chart. Because it'd be nice to have, like the chart off to the side of the screen or something like that. Yeah, that's basically the idea here. Like I can do that. Hold on. Like I can window capture, add source, Foxit. Let's do Foxit Reader for the name, whatever. And then, where'd it go? For some reason it won't show it to me right now. It's only showing me useless things. Useless things. Foxit Reader, there we go. What up, bro? But so like if I enable this, so you get the whole reader. So like I can shrink it down, but then you can't read it anymore. So I don't know, like if there's some way in the PDF reader to isolate just the image of the chart or not. Because like ideally what I would want is like the chart over here, but without the annoying, box around it. There's some way to like use this box to trim off parts of the image would be nice, maybe. Because if you just pull in from the side, it just shrinks it, just contracts it. So like it's not really ideal. I guess I could do something like blow the image up. And come back into Streamlabs and then like pull it Keeps trying to snap to something. Pull it down like that, but it's still too obstructive. Why does it keep snapping? I think there's like a source for a browser, but I mean, I would expect to have effectively the same kind of issue. I don't know. You know, so you can do like say browser source, image slideshow. So I mean, if I made an image or downloaded an image of the chart, I might be able to just show that image. I don't want to have to see like all the rest of everything though. You know, like the image viewer around it. Let's see what that does. Give me just a second here. Let's view this. This is the right one. View image, and we'll save it to the desktop. Leave me alone. So we'll see. And then we'll browse. Then we'll go to desktop. Then we'll do this. Hey, that's better. Hey, what's up, associate? Trying to figure out the best way to get like a to get the charts on screen. So I'm going to try to shrink it a little. That's a bit big. And bring it up a touch. This might obstruct the hands a little bit too much. You can shrink it down a little more, I think. Let's see if that's legible on the screen over here. Uh-oh. Said I got a network error. Interesting. My the browser I'm monitoring in is throwing a network error at me, and it's been buffering really bad for some reason. I'll just kill that one. let's see, I got a little alert in OBS that says I skipped a frame over like 2 minutes ago, but that's about it. Hey, that logo ain't bad, Max. Pretty chunky. It looks like a Cuberty. Let's see. Where should I save that to? Let me save it to here. We'll call it logo 1. Yeah, make sure everybody's got their guitar in hand. Anybody who's just tuning in. Just going to start with some warm-ups in a minute once we get everything kind of sorted out here. I'm going to tweak something real quick. Going to go over here, see if I can figure out how to do this. No, where do I want to go? Let's see if I can make this adjustment real quick. Since where did I do this at? Can't remember where I changed the logo at. Is it over there? It is. There it is. Okay, so we're gonna go here. Gonna run with this. Slap that in there. Might actually need to be smaller. We'll go with it for the moment. See how it looks. Actually still looks pretty cool that way. Slapped on, close that out. Slapped on Max's logo. For my profile picture. So I guess we want to get started with some warm-ups, because what I want to do is start basically every stream, especially if we're doing like an instruction stream, with some warm-ups. I'm going to shrink this this image a little bit more. No, not that image. This image. Move it about like that. There we go. That's a little less obtrusive, I think. All right. I'm going to start off with some basic kinds of warm-ups. Using our 4-finger, 1 finger per fret warm-up. You should be familiar with that, right? Keeping our thumb on the back of the neck, keeping our fingers arched and on their tips. Immediately behind the fret. So if we're playing a 3rd position version, our finger is going to be right behind the 3rd fret. With the right hand, I can tilt this down a little so you can see the right hand maybe a little better. With the right hand, pretty strict alternate picking. Down, up, 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 down, up. Just getting that basic stuff going, get our hands warmed up. We can change the order up as long as we're staying in that group of 4. So that would have been 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2 4 1 3 2. Whatever the order it is, it doesn't matter. We're going to do that all over the neck, different places on the fingerboard. Do it legato. Though if you're doing that, you want to make sure you articulate all of them. And you play them with an even time. And do, like, say, 2 finger groupings. All that sort of business. Get our hands nice and loosened up and warmed up and ready to play. Now, give me just a second to pull the chart up on my other computer. We'll use that for my reference then, since I can't actually see the one on here. Though I don't know why, I didn't know the song inside and out. But welcome back, dude. You got your guitar? Got that guitar in hand? Make sure you got it. No, I don't want to download an update. Gosh. Leave me alone. Well, that's why you do more warm-ups. That's like the whole point of that exercise. You know, you do this enough, you do this consistently, you do it every day. Your fingers mostly just kind of learn to do what you want. Yeah. You can also do bigger stretches. Yeah, okay, Peter. So once we've done that a little bit, we can start to dive in to the, well actually no. Let's say, since this is a jazz tune, let's talk briefly about ways to make it start to feel a little bit more jazzy. We can even do that with our warm-up exercise, right? So our basic 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 type exercise. Most of the time we're going for our ups and downs sounding very consistent, sounding as close to each other as we can get them. But to create some of the pulse that makes something feel like it's swinging, especially if you were to play this song at a higher tempo or you were to be soloing on top of it, we would want our downs and ups to actually have a little bit of deviation. Where there's a little bit of dynamic change between them. Because if we were soloing on top of that and we're playing it all super flat, it doesn't really lock into the sort of pulse of the tune. It's so we kind of have our downbeats But the actual beats themselves with downstrokes being a little stronger and our ups being a little softer. So you can practice that with the 1, 2, 3, 4. It's subtle. If you start to swing the time a little bit too, in that case, da 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 da, instead of da 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 da, start to kind of fall into the pocket. And even that little exercise starts to kind of feel jazzy and sound jazzy. Right? So let's start off with the melody here. We'll leave the chords out till later, and just try to get the melody underneath our fingers. So we can see this song's got 1 sharp in the key signature. Does anybody in here remember what 1 sharp means? 2 of you at least ought to know. Anybody? No, key of B is very far from 1 sharp. Keep watch. How's jazz if you're playing the right notes? Bruh. Actually, the standards, the old stuff, tend to be like fairly coherent and tight kind of forms. But there's a lot of leeway in terms of what you can do with them, and over the years, different players and styles of jazz have taken those and expanded on them, and sort of made the harmonic vocabulary larger. But jazz itself, actually, like the old stuff, especially the old standards like this, like they're very, very, very structured. And we actually see the same kind of structures come out of them a lot, very frequently. But no, it's not the key of B. We got 1 sharp and it's on the F line. So we have an F sharp in the key. Do you remember what key has just F sharp in it? Do you remember your circle of fifths from back in the day? That's the real question. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, C has no sharps or flats, so that's the starting point of our circle of fifths. We're going 1 tick clockwise. My screen might be reversed on here, so that might have looked like counterclockwise. I don't know. But we're going 1 tick clockwise on the circle of fifths. Well, you should like download one and print it off and staple it on your wall, because it's like a super useful thing. All you really have to do, though, if you know that the key of C major, the C major scale, has no sharps or flats, then you simply have to go up a perfect fifth from C, C, D, E, F, G, and play the major scale starting on G, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And we find that the G major scale has 1 sharp, F sharp. So when we look at a piece of sheet music and we see a single sharp, in this case on the F line, there will only ever be a key with a single sharp in the way that our musical system operates. Oh goodness, my nose is itching. Then we know that we're in the key of G major. we're using the G major scale, all of our Fs on the sheet music will be sharp by default. So when we look at this chart, we see over here that we have an E to start, the second fret here, on the D string. Then we have an F, but since we're in the key of G, that F is an F sharp, so the fourth fret on the D string. Then we have a G. That G could be played open. 2, 3, 4. Or we could fret it. If we use the open string, it's going to ring out more. It's not going to be quite as smooth sounding, but especially if you're playing like on your own or you're playing an intro to a piece with a group, you might want to use the open string versus. But if you're playing in an ensemble, or if you want to keep things sort of as smooth and consistent sounding as possible, we'll use the fretted note instead of the open string. Because that sort of timbral shift is pretty marked, and plus you can control the sustain of the note much more if you're fretting it, obviously. While if it's open, you have to actively dampen it out. So we have those three pickup notes, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4. Then we have C. That C could be played first fret B string or fifth fret on the G string. Depending on which fingering you used for the G, it may change which one you use for that C. If we go open, which as you'll notice gives us a very sustainy, bright and clear kind of sound, all this ringing from the open string, versus be more typical of jazz. E, F sharp, G, C. You could use pinky for both, or ring finger for F sharp and G, and then pinky for C. Da, 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 da. So try to play that. E, F sharp, G, C. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right? Post in chat when you got it. Right now we're just worrying about the notes, not so much about the feel or anything or phrasing it. Ba, 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 da, 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 da. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That'll be the next phrase. Have you got it, Keep? You got it, Alec? And like I said, feel free to experiment. Use the open string and the lower C down here. As I said, if you're playing a solo version, you might want to use those open strings for something brighter and clearer. But if you want it to be smooth, we're going to stick with those fretted notes, which is how we're going to do almost all of this, at least as I transcribe it. Okay, so you got the first phrase, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. What's happening, if we look at the music for this, we kind of see that each phrase that begins every measure and a half or so is just stepping down a scale tone from the previous phrase. So that phrase started on E and went E, F sharp, G, and then jumped up to C, went up a fourth from the G. So we have a little 3-note scale walk up, da da da, then up a fourth, da 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 da, The next phrase is going to go down to D, so it's going to go down one scale tone from the E we started with previously. We could play that open, or we could play it at the 5th fret on the A string. Those are identical. Again, the open string will ring out a little bit more. But in this case, because we have other notes on that string, we can control it a little bit better. And since the D string is wound on most electric guitars, assuming you're, well, most guitars in general, electric and acoustic, it won't be quite as twangy as the open G string will be. So we can start with the open D string. I tend to like starting with the closed D string, though, again, to sort of control the quality of sound with my pinky. We're going to go D, then E, that same E we just played, that same F sharp we just played. So another little 3-note phrase, da da da, starting on beat 2, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to jump up a 4th from that F sharp to B. That B could be played as the open B string or the 4th fret on the G string. I keep it closed. Again, you could play it open if you wanted to. 2, 3, 4, 1. Several ways you could finger it as well. Always starting that D with the pinky, though. D, E, F sharp, B. Move the pinky up for B, or play the F sharp with the middle finger, B with the ring finger. I usually use the pinky because of the chords I tend to go into require the pinky to be there. But you have some freedom there, some options in terms of how you can do that. Right? Well, you should know the fretboard by now, man. I mean, come on. How long have you been playing guitar? So, D, E, F sharp, B. 5, 2, 4, 4. Or open 2, 4, 4. Again, post in chat, let me know when you've got it. Because then we're going to try to put those first two parts together. Da 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 da, da 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 da. You know what would be cool is if I could get like some program that would let me take the sheet music and tab it out, because I know obviously that not everybody that watches or will be watching can read the standard notation yet. But it'd be pretty cool if I could like actively tab it out, or have something like translate the charts into tab as well, kind of live as we're doing this. Not exactly sure what program would be ideal for it. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, are you going to be playing the grandpa's guitars next? So, D, E, F sharp, B. D, E, F sharp, B. D, E, F sharp, B. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an idea, but that would be really annoying to have to keep like turning around and to write on the board and then like duck out of the way and be like, here, look at the board. If I could just pull up like a program in a window and, you know, just like insert the tab or whatever as we go along, or like like I know there are ones that can convert sheet music to tab or something. Just have it do that before we even get started and have it up on screen in both notation and tab would be really handy. Or I could just transcribe it manually. All right, don't worry about playing it jazzy yet. Worry about just playing the notes. Like there are several parts to learning a piece of music. There's learning the physical notes that you have to play, which is a huge part of it, obviously. And then you can learn about the phrasing and the feel and all the other kind of stuff. But get the notes under your fingers, get the form of the song or the piece down so that you know it. Then you can start to play with it kind of however you want. Besides learning the feel, how to make it feel jazzy, is a thing that just comes with time, with like listening to music and trying to play it that way. And one day it'll kind of sort of click underneath your fingers. It's all really about the right hand, though, in that case. All right, so we want to put the first two parts together. E, F sharp, G, C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. This chart, depending on which chart you look at, will have you play that B twice. They'll have da 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 da, something to that effect. But depending on who you listen to, they'll just let it ring out or not. They might play it twice. They might play it 3 times. Da 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 da, da, something like that. It's one of the reasons why this song is really great to learn when you're first starting to learn this stuff. The structure is the absolute epitome of jazz, 20th century jazz music. And it's got a lot of room for like tweaking things, modifying things. You know, if you listen to a ballad version of this, like Chet Baker or somebody play it, it'll be super slow and romantic like how we're playing it. But then if you listen to like the Miles Davis version, da 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 ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da 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 da, you know, it'll be a lot faster and snappier. So lots of things you can do with it, and the structure is very coherent, very focused. So 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Same thing there. That B is being tied over into the next measure. Right? So you try to put those two pieces together, but this is how you really should learn any complex piece of music rather than trying to learn like the whole thing in one go. Learn a measure, learn the next measure, connect them together. Learn the next measure, connect them together. And each time you add a measure, you play through the previous measures to try to create that complete string as you go along, rather than trying to take it all in at once and then, you know, you get halfway through and you're like, wait, what? What's happening? What's going on? Where am I? It'd be really important with more complex pieces of music. But it's a good habit you want to get into now when you're first starting to sort of read and work on these things. Da 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 da, like that. All right, so once you can string those together, we look at the next measure. We're just going down another scale tone, another note from the D, from where we were. So we started off on E, went up 3, went up a fourth. Went down to D, went up 3, up a fourth. Same pattern repeats now. We're going down from D to C, so that C is on the 3rd fret on the A string. We're going to go C, D, E, that same E again, up a fourth from there to A, 2nd fret on the G string. So you can use one finger for that if you want. You can use 2 fingers as well, depending on the voicing a chord that you want to go into afterwards, or if you want to go into one at all. But just barring like that's probably the easiest thing to do. That fits very nicely into that sort of C scale shape. And again, you could use open D. One thing you do have to watch out for if you're using the index finger to bar from the E to the A is the sound of the two strings ringing into each other. That gives us a perfect fourth between them. Which is not bad necessarily, but if you want separation, you have to roll the fingers slightly so as to end the pressure on the E. Gives you more clarity. If you leave everything ringing out, then it's no big deal. It's just sort of a stylistic thing, or a stylistic choice. So, C, D, E, A. C, D, E, A. Try it. Fourths are actually like, even though they're a perfect interval technically, they're an inversion of a power chord. Historically, they've quite often been considered a kind of dissonance. They're arguably less stable than a perfect fifth would be in root position. But these days, they're not really considered so much a dissonance. If you use them in places like, say, in rock or metal or anything, they do have a little more growl than a power chord has to them. So, E, F sharp, G, C, D, E, F sharp, B, C, D, E, A. Let me know when you got it. Yeah, they're great little patterns, and we hear kind of them in reverse almost in some other jazz standards, like, say, Fly Me to the Moon. Like a very similar idea. It makes its way down the sort of scale at a whole step each time. Da 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 da. It's almost like this song kind of backwards in a certain way. But they're very, very coherent musically. They like basically follow all the rules of Western harmony, like very, very strictly in a certain sense. Or at least the way voice leading works anyway. I won't go so far as to say all the rules of Western harmony, but songs like this then helped popularize that as well outside of the classical realm. Right? So then we get to the first ending. Now, if you'll recall the way first endings work, when we see this bracket that has a 1 right underneath the top of the bracket on it, where the B7 chord occurs, that means that the first time we play through this, we're playing what's underneath that bracket. So we're going to have a B, a C sharp, a D sharp, and a G. And then when we get to the tail end of that little bit, before we hit the repeat sign, we have the first notes that we started with in the beginning. So those 3 pickup notes that were at the very beginning have now been moved here. We don't actually repeat the pickup notes. We repeat what's inside the repeat bracket, which is the C that came at the end of that phrase. So that's going to loop us back to the beginning. So when we get here down to the first ending, that A is still ringing out on beat 1. On beat 2, we have B, the 2nd fret, on the A string. Then we have C sharp, 4th fret on the A string, D sharp, 1st fret on the D string. Then we have a G. That G could be played open. I actually like it open in this case compared to most of the previous chords that we've been playing, because we've kind of made our way down in most cases to like this open E minor chord here. And so leaving that ringing out creates kind of like a nice contrast compared to what we've been doing. That's why I'm playing it. Right? You'll notice that I'm not looking at the guitar at all, and it's a very, very good habit to try to develop, and it's difficult at first, but to try to not look at the face of your guitar. You do have top markers, and this guitar does have top markers on it, which you can use to sort of get your bearings when you first start off. But you want to practice things as best you can without looking, because guitar is not really a visual instrument in the same way that piano is. You know, it's not easy to look and say, I need to go left or I need to go right. In guitar, we can go left and right, and we can go up and down, and we can go diagonal, and we can change the tuning, and the notes change places, and all that sort of stuff. So the fret markers, like, aren't the greatest thing in the world to rely on. Plus, you don't want to be thinking, does this look right? You want to be thinking, does this sound right? Does this feel right? And if you learn to let your fingers and ears do the work, they'll pick up that slack pretty quickly. You know, and then you can do kind of whatever you want without looking. You can keep your eyes on the music or on the stage. But the ending notes that we're working on are B, the 2nd fret on the A string, C sharp, 4th fret on the A string, D sharp, 1st fret on the D string, and then a G. We can play that G open as the open G string, or we could play 5th fret on the D string. In this case, though, I was saying I actually do tend to like playing it open because of the sort of direction the voicings are taking us. And because we're kind of at the end of a little stretch of music, that open G gives us a little finality, a little character. But you can use either one. So B, C sharp, D sharp, G. It's still actually the same kind of pattern as the previous ones, where we go down a scale tone, then we come up 3, and then we go up a 4th from that note. But an interesting thing occurs because we're transitioning into the relative minor of G major, which is E minor here. We've been sticking strictly previously to the notes of the G major scale. But when we get to this B7, we're implying that this is a 5 chord of the 6, so the relative minor of the E minor. So we actually have to change to a variation of a sort of B mixolydian type sound. It'd be like B mixolydian with a flat 6, or something comparable to that in this case. Because by default, this would be the Phrygian mode, which would give us a minor chord. If we play a B minor scale phrase there, or a B Phrygian scale there, doesn't really have the same character. It doesn't really align or line up the way we want with the chord change that occurs there. It's a little darker sounding. But since we're making this a B7 chord and transitioning to the minor key, that 5 needs to be a dominant type chord. So we change the 3rd, we change to this sort of mixolydian-ish dominant sound. Da 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 da. So it's nice to hit that big open E underneath it too. Kind of gives it a little bit of finality. So B, C sharp, D sharp, G. B, D sharp, C sharp, G. Sliding into it like that's pretty cool sounding too. So let me know when you've got that phrase. Because then we're going to put them all together. That'll get us through the first half of the A section of what's called the head. When we work from a sheet like this is called a lead sheet, where we have the melody and we have the chords written out, but not really much else. It's not like a full arrangement. But when we're working with a jazz tune in particular, the sort of melody is called the head of the tune. So someone will say, hey, like we're working on the A section of the head. That means we're working on the first part of the head. And there'll usually be like an A section, like an ABA format or something like that. Some tunes are a lot more complex, some tunes are a lot less complex, but kind of the basic idea. And some tunes are just blueses, which have their own sort of set of forms. B, C sharp, D sharp, G. How you guys doing with it? I probably should have posted this on the Facebook and stuff. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. Let me do that really quick. Da, 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 dum. Why on earth didn't I share this? Wasn't thinking about it. Itchy nose. Hey, Keep Watch, did you see that I got your logo up there on the profile picture? Yeah, it's pretty good. Like especially for a first attempt, I think we can tweak it a little bit more, at and like really, really, really get it there. But yeah, I mean, it looks really good already. Did you just do that like? Well, I guess you had to have done it today at some point, but we all right. Got that posted on Facebook anyway. I guess I might do I have to start using Twitter and putting things on there? Yeah, dude, that's super awesome for especially such a short time frame. All right, so do like a speed metal version of. Sounds like a mid 20th century Italian tune if you do that. Like you should actually be playing this on mandolin. But I mean, there are like jazz metal bands and things like that, but most of it's just super wanky stuff. It would be kind of funny, or to start a whole genre of just playing standards and playing them straight ahead, just in ridiculous tunings and with a ton of gain. Anyways, so let's see. We're at the point now where basically we're going through the whole first part of the head. So we have E, F sharp, G, C, D, E, F sharp, B, C, D, E, A, B, C sharp, D, D sharp, G. You gonna string skip on it? You gonna throw some sweeps in there? Da 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 da. But as you can see, it's very simply just kind of making its way down the scale. It's just gradually moving through the chords, going down the scale that we're starting in until we get to that B7 chord where you have to play for the dominant or the relative minor here. Da 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 da. So I'll give you a second. Everybody try to sort of play through that sequence there. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's kind of hard to play it that slow. But it's one of those tunes where like your fingers kind of fall into the phrases almost, and it becomes very easy, perhaps very tempting in a way, to kind of go noodling off on it. Have to control yourself when you're just trying to demonstrate the basic tune. Da 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 dum, da 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 dum. Da 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 da. And you can kind of see how all the phrases overlap with each other. It tends to give it a very conjunct and coherent kind of sound. It tends to sound like it has a very, very direct or a very complete idea of where it's going and how it's getting there. Because there's a distinct theme being developed throughout all those. Right. So let me know how you're doing with it, with that sort of cycle through that first bit there. too many notes. You guys getting it? Because when we go into the second half, like once you've got this bit, all we really have to do is change for the second ending before we learn the B part. Because all it does is recycle the A part once we get to the end of this. Well, so I mean, like playing as you're reading is one skill, like the direct sight reading, like playing live as you're reading. But I mean, ultimately with tunes like this, you want to memorize them too. You want to internalize them. How about you, Alec? You getting it? Well, I think maybe Alec's falling asleep. But anyways, so hopefully by now you've been able to piece all of that first sequence of phrases together. Because as soon as we finish this last one, the B, C sharp, D sharp, G, after a measure and a beat of that G ringing out, we're coming right back to, well, I guess we probably have it. Let me look at the music. Yeah, we got a rest on beat one. So just one measure of the G and then a rest on the next beat one, because we're coming back in to that first phrase again. The E, F sharp, G, C. And then we're going to go all the way through that cycle again until we get to the ending section. At the ending on the second run through that melody part is different than it is the first time through. Right? So from the beginning, E, F sharp, G, C, D, E, F sharp, B, C, D, E, A, B, C sharp, D, G. Then we start the initial phrase again. E, F sharp, G, C, D, E, F sharp, B, C, D, E, A. Now when we get here where the first ending came, what's under the bracket 1, we're going to skip that entirely and go to the second ending, which is the bracket with the number 2. And this is done really, 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 really commonly at in sheet music to save us from having to write the entire part or the entire melody or an entire section out again if only one thing is substantially different. At, in this case, it's just that little tag at the very end of the melody. So if we go over and we look at that little bracket number 2 there, we see that we still have the A ringing out from the previous measure, just like in the first time through the first ending. That's going to ring out into beat 1 from the previous measure. But then, instead of the B, C sharp, D sharp, G, we have F sharp, A, G, E. Da, 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 da. And you could use the open G or the fretted G on the 5th fret on the D string. F sharp, A, G, E. Which kind of makes that feel very, very ended. Like it makes that ending feel very resolved compared to the first ending, which lands on the G, which is the minor third of the chord. Makes it feel more open. Like it's going to do something again. Compared to da 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 da. That makes it feel like, okay, we're back to the E here, we're back to the root of the chord that we've changed to. This is all resolved, this is all focused, and this section is done. And we're going to be going to another section afterwards. That's sort of the strength of the root. So that last phrase, F sharp, 4th fret on the D string, A, 2nd fret on the G string, G could be open or it could be 5th fret on the D string, then E, 2nd fret on the D string, the same E that we started with. Yeah, the open G tends to kind of leap out at you a little bit. It definitely makes it a little smoother sounding. Let me go check something over here real quick. Is that like Studio Blues Man Dan? I guess all the jazz clubs have kind of, well, I mean, they were practically disappeared before the pandemic, but you have to get like a wedding gig or something now, or move to the city. I mean, one cymbal and brushes is all you need, dude. You just need like a snare, one tom, and a ride, and like a you know, a ride cymbal or something like that, and just you know. For the most part, especially the trad jazz guys, play with pretty small kits. All right. So, have you guys got this first part down, including both of the endings? And by down, I mean at least you can play through it. E, F sharp, G, C, D, E, F sharp, B, C, D, E, A, B, D sharp, or B, C sharp, D sharp, G. Then we repeat E, F sharp, G, C, D, E, F sharp, B, C, D, E, A, then F sharp, A, G, E, the second time through. We skip the first ending entirely the second time through and replace it with that second ending. I mean, if you've really worked on your 4-finger exercises like this, especially that particular fingering of that is not too bad. Third finger, first finger, fourth finger, first finger. I mean, it even aligns with the minor pentatonic scale, which I know you know. That one little note there from the natural minor. Then if you wanted to, you could play the head again. You could repeat the whole thing. It would depend on the ensemble you're playing with or how you want to arrange it. I hope you're using a Floyd and not a collar. Or if you're using your Gretsch, you got your Bigsby. Add like a little bit of wiggle at the very end. I wouldn't do it on every note, but like so da 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 ba, just a little wobble there. Da 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 wa. You know, these notes that are ringing out, that vibrato can add a lot of character to them, depending on the type of vibrato you're applying. Ultimate Guitar Tone Bridge. I don't even know what that is. Anyways, so if you guys feel comfortable with that part, we can start to look at the B section. Where to go? Let's see. So if the B section is going to be after that E that's being held out. So we'll see, like, say B7, E minor, da 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 dum. We have that E being held for a measure and a beat. Right? And we have this little movement that's going to kind of go in the reverse direction, sort of. Yeah, no, I'd stick with the Gretsch and the Bigsby. That's like going to be a better fit for this kind of stuff. Anyway, says the man playing a Parker. But anyways, so as we're coming out of that E minor there, we have this E note that's ringing out. What we're going to have is a D sharp. We're going to slip down a fret, or you could stretch all the way up to the D sharp on the 6th fret on the A string. Depends on the kind of sound you want. how you want to finger it. The D sharp on the A string, a little darker. But it gives you finger separation instead of the little slip and slide we have there. It can also help you practice stretching. That's a little bit of a stretch for most people. Right, so we're going to go D sharp, E, F sharp, B, F sharp. So coming out of the E on the 2nd fret, ringing out from the end of the previous phrase, D sharp, 1st fret, back to E, 2nd fret, F sharp, 4th fret, B, 2nd fret, A string, back to F sharp on the 4th fret on the D string. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Or you could completely rejigger your fingering and shift down to the 1st position and play these two with 2 separate fingers. But that kind of interrupts what's going to be the next phrase a little bit. Doesn't matter a whole lot though unless you're playing it super fast. Right, so let me know when you guys have got that. D sharp, E, F sharp, B, F sharp. Da 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 dum da 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 dum da. Gotta quit trying to embellish it because I'm so used to doing little things with it. And try it both ways. Try it multiple ways. I mean, if you've got a Bigsby, you could even play, you could dip from the E down to the D sharp with the Bigsby, like bow na 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 no now, bow bow na da do bam. You could do like some pretty cool stuff with it. Little half step movement like that. Bigsbys don't have a huge amount of range, but they can at least get a half step down, either rising back up into it or going down and back up. Right? So let me know when you got it, or approximately got it. Trying to keep chat engaged, and so I can sort of keep track of where everybody is. Yeah, it's cool. But, you know, And we can hear a very strong kind of dominant chord, like 5-chord movement here. You get that fifth there, like it's really, really stout. We can hear bum bum, and we can guess from there that it's going to be resolving down to the relative minor. Right? But all kinds of cool little things you can do. One of my favorite embellishments is that one that I just did, which is a little more bebop-like, a little more Charlie Parker-like, which has a little sort of trill or mordant. Still inside the scale, but you have to fit it in the time frame of that one little quarter note, basically. You can make it progressively more complex as you go on. A little too much. Right? But so once we've got that, the next line is super easy. It's very, very, very similar to the first line. F sharp, E, F sharp, G. F sharp, E, F sharp, G. Super, super, super easy. So we put it together. Three, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So try to put those two parts together. And let me know when you've got it, or at least a close approximation thereof. Or any thoughts on it. You getting it, boys? And or ladies? You know, we have another person or two watching. It'd be great if you guys stopped in chat and said hi. Alright, so 1, 2, 4, 2, 4, 4, 2, 4, 5. And actually, it's a good habit to try to sing along with these melodies as you play them too. That helps sort of deepen your internal knowledge, your understanding of how melodies are functioning and what notes on the guitar sound like. So when you're trying to learn songs, you're trying to improvise, whatever, you sort of start singing and hearing the melodies in your head rather than trying to just sort of mechanically construct them. right? So we're coming out. And in a similar sort of phrase to the first phrase of this second section, we're starting with that G, and we're dipping down a half step to the F sharp. Back to the G. So if you do that fretted, we get 5, 4, 5. You could also do open, 4, open, which gives you a really clangorous sound. We hear that minor second between those two notes. And again, we have a little bit of the open string issue where the open strings kind of jump out at us a little more than we usually want. So we're probably going to want to go like that. 5, 4, 5, pinky, ring finger, pinky, right? G, F sharp, G. And we're going up to A on the second fret on the G string, and that's going to be the note that we're holding. Right, so da 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 dum dum, da da dum, da 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 da. Right, da 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 dum da, da 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 dum. Try not to sing too loudly. Probably going to finger that a little differently. All right, so let me know when you've got that phrase. G, F sharp, G, A. Few ways we can finger this upcoming phrase. We'll look at it in just a minute. Yeah, I think that's the best way to end that. So, G, F sharp, G, A. G, F sharp, G, A. Yeah, you can play it all the way up here. Or you could shift into this, play it all on one string. Get a totally different timbral quality up here, though. Part of the idea, though, and the way that I'm fingering it now is specifically to keep it kind of in this box, this little G major. Box shape that, like, not everybody, but a lot of people are familiar with it. I'm going to be more comfortable with this than playing it somewhere way up here. But you should certainly try to transpose everything, you know. At every single tune you learn, try to figure out different ways and places you can play it. Because the more places you can play it, obviously, the more versatile you're going to be, the more options you're going to have for soloing, the more options you're going to have for arranging. Just different, totally different sounds playing it up here versus playing it up here versus versus transposing it up an octave, etc. Totally different vibes. Right? So, you guys got it? So, the only reason, and as I said in this case, that I would advise playing the A here is because of what's going to come next. What we have to do when we get to the next part in the phrase is drop down to D, either the open D or the 5th fret D here on the A string. And we're actually going to get some string skipping, which you were talking about wanting to do earlier, especially if we do the D on the A string. If we play the fretted D on the 5th fret on the A string, we're jumping up an octave to the D on the 3rd fret on the B string. And I'm using pinky and middle finger because I just had this on A. So you get a pretty big leap there compared to this octave shape. Now if you're playing it the way you were talking about playing it, then you just get a regular octave shape. Or you can kind of combine the two and get that big jump there. So D, low D to high D, then C, then B. D, D, C, B. And this is a really important part in the melody, the sound of the melody, because it's been kind of working its way up. Da 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 dum ba da 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 da. Now it's like really opening up right as the chord gets back to the root, the 1 chord, the G chord. Gets really bright and open at that point, that big lift and leap. If we put it over the G there, we can really hear that movement. So, D, D, C, B. 5th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 4th fret. Or you could use the open D, but you have to control it so it doesn't ring out too much. I don't like it as much though. So let me know how you're doing with that bit. Or if you have questions about how to finger it or anything like that. D, D, C, B. I'm playing with the timing a little bit. It's written slightly more straight. Oh, hold on. Let me send a text really quick. Doodle-da, if I can find it. Do-do-da-da. I keep forgetting that I have to start trying to promote myself. what the heck is my URL here? What's my username? All right. All right, so you guys getting it? That little jump, especially playing like say that octave split with the pinky and middle finger, is a little bit tricky at first, a little awkward feeling. Da da ba da 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 da. So I said, let me know if you got it or if you're having any issues with it. It's probably, aside from the phrase that's coming up, probably like maybe the second hardest thing in this song, so not super hard. I mean, this next part's not really hard either. It's just a little bit different harmonically than people might be accustomed to. How you doing with it, Alec? Right? So, right, if you got that, the next part is going to take our middle finger. We're going to go to A sharp here. So a half step below the B we were just playing with our ring finger. And we're going to go A sharp, B. That sounds like the ideal playing posture. Right? So we're going down to A sharp, B, A sharp, B, A sharp, B. Then we're coming up to C. If we're using this fingering we're using here, we're still going to play that C with our pinky. C, C, A, F sharp. C, C, A, F sharp. A sharp, B, C, C, A, F sharp. So we have this little chromatic movement. Da da da, da 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 da. Then a little diminished arpeggio. Da 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 da, which actually is pretty cool by itself. Sounds almost like a surf tune. Kind of a weird one, but still. A sharp, B, C, C, A, F sharp. Right? And let me know when you've got that. It's actually not really that hard. It's just a little odd sounding until you phrase it right. Da 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 da. Again, a reason why our dexterity exercises are really useful. And you got to do it a million times too. How's it going? Keep you getting it? There's a lot of ways you can play with the time in this phrase in particular. Da 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 da. Sliding into the last note's a good one. Da 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 da. Just that little grace note slide there. Anybody tuning in at this moment would be perhaps a bit confused at the ambiguity of this phrase. So, from the beginning of the B section, D sharp, E, F sharp, B, F sharp, F sharp, E, F sharp, G, G, F sharp, G, A, D, D, C, B, A sharp, B, C, C, A, F sharp. The next phrase is incredibly easy. It's just C, B, B. And we can hit the B twice if we want. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Usually if it's hit twice, it's pulled a little bit, though. The second one's a little bit ahead of where the actual notation shows it. So da 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 da. Da 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 da. C B C B C B C B. That reminds me of the part of the melody from Black Nile, the Wayne Shorter tune that I played the other night. Let me go check something on the stream here. Twitch. Make sure it's looking okay. Are you getting it, Keep? There's actually very little hand movement in the whole thing. Right. All right. So that gets us pretty much coming into the last phrase. The last bit of the phrase goes E, A, just that same second fret, E, A. Your pinky's seized up. You need to relax your hand a lot. Keep your hand nice and loose. Quit trying to murder your guitar. So, da 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 da. Then E, A, E, A. E on the second fret, same one we started with. A on the second fret on the G string. E, 1, 2, 3. E, A. Then G, F sharp. I'm playing it as 5th fret, 4th fret. 2, 2, 5, 4. 2, 2, 5, 4. 2, 2, 5, 4. E, A, G, F sharp. So. Let me know when you've got that. That's not hard at all, really. E, A, G, F sharp. Ba, ba, ba. Right? You got it? E, A, G, F sharp. Right, so that's super easy. Then our final tag for the song, our final tag for the sort of the main melody, the main head in the B section, is just this. G, B, E. Right? So I'm playing G on the 5th fret on the D string, B on the 2nd fret on the A string, and then that same E we started with. So again, that brings us back to the root, and it brings us from like a 5-1 sort of sound because the B is the 5 of the E. Ba-do-dum. So da 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 da. It is really pretty. Kind of dramatic and kind of melancholy. I mean, if you ever look up the lyrics to this song, in French it's La Feuille Morte, which basically means like the dead leaves, not exactly autumn leaves. Autumn leaves is kind of an anglicized translation of the sort of theme of the song, but it's actually a pretty sad and bleak song, really, in the original lyrics. If you listen to someone like Jacques Brel or someone sing it. So da 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 da. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a broad metaphor for a lot of things. Da, 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 da. So for our end, E, A, G, F sharp, G, B, E, ba dum ba dum da dum do. So our whole B section then goes. So in a certain way, it has less movement than the A section does in terms of our left hand movement. But it explores the kind of little box, the position that we're playing in here, this second position, G major scale position. It explores a little bit more because we actually make our way up to the B string in this case, and have a little bit, a few little leaps between strings that we don't have as much in the first part of the song. So let's try to put the whole thing together. D sharp, E, F sharp, B, F sharp, F sharp, E, F sharp, G. Getting a little bit to the top of my singing range, so forgive me. G, F sharp, G, A, D, D, C, B. To go to falsetto. A sharp, E, C, C, A, F sharp, C, B. E, A, G, F sharp, G, B, E. You can get really, really dramatic with the way you phrase those with those held notes there. And that'd be a perfect place, Alec, for a big Bigsby warbler dip there. Bow, especially like if you were to start off when you go to that B, start with the Bigsby depressed a little bit and then let it up. Bow, bow. It'll sound pretty sick. Da da dum, da 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 dum dum, da 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 dum. So that's the whole tune. That's the entire head of the tune. When we learn a jazz standard, when we work on a tune like this, that's the first thing that we generally learn. We learn this melody and we learn the chords that go with it. And we play till we can get all the way through that melody consistently. Then we start trying to really phrase it. Listen to a recording or phrase it in your head, though it's usually kind of difficult to develop the language of phrasing and feel and stuff like that without actually listening to a lot of people. We did indeed get all the way through it. Only took about 2 hours, which actually really, all things considered, isn't that bad, given that we're kind of just sort of like dynamically going through each little bit. I was going to try to find an emoji to post, but I don't really see an appropriate one for this. What's this do? They're all just Pokemon, aside from like the stock Twitch emojis. What do you mean it's the second song you know? Dude, you played in the band. You knew songs in full. I mean, they were all like a minute and a half long, but still, you knew songs in full. But anyways. Oh, that's some Illuminati stuff there, bro. Better be careful posting that in here. I don't need them watching my channel here, hitting me with copyright claims for playing really, really old songs. Anyways, So this is a really, it's pretty straightforward. The melody functions in terms of like voice leading and stuff, and sort of thematic direction in a really nice way. Why are you quoting your own band's songs at each other? So now you got to put both of the parts together. You got to play through the A section and the B section. Twitches. I'm not going to blame my future streaming overlords for too much yet. Unless Twitch is the Illuminati. So A section, B section. Or wait, not the B section yet. A section part 2. B section. So very little left hand movement, relatively speaking, especially in that B section. You can also see in each one, especially in the A section, you can see the outline of each mode that's being used very clearly too. Something we may talk about at a later point, but it plays through the changes very clearly. So I want you to do is to try to play through the whole thing. Right, I'm going to play through it a couple more times. And try to play from A section to B section. And a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's playing it like super square, right on the beat. But that's how you learn the basic structure. That's how you learn the bones of the song, the bones of the melody. And once you have that down, you have that steady at a decent tempo. And it doesn't have to be fast. This is a song that's just as suited to a ballad as it is a swing or up-tempo number. In In fact, the slower you play it and the more you drag things out, the more kind of romantic and intense it becomes. It'll just take 12 years to get through it. Just need to learn the song and it'll be good. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. Start giving you the outlines for like the fingerings and stuff like that. Make it much easier to actually learn the piece itself. And to kind of hear it, you know, to hear each phrase, because when you look at a phrase, you look at a piece of sheet music, you want to be able to kind of imagine as accurately as you can what it's going to sound like from looking at it. That winds up kind of spreading out over time too. Like the more you do that, the better you get at that. The more you start to sort of be able to extrapolate and say, like, you know, well, okay, I'm familiar with the way this phrase worked and this phrase looked on the sheet music in this particular song. So when you encounter something similar somewhere else, you kind of get an idea from there what it might be like. That takes time, though. You know, for each instrument and each like type of music, and even going all the way down to like the player level, each individual player, if you want to sound good or sound like a thing, you have to start developing the sort of vocabulary and learning to recognize the language that's used. You know, we've all heard the metaphor that music is a language, and that's true in a certain sense. But each sort of genre, each subgenre even, and then each instrument within a genre or within a context has its own language. You know, so the guitar, and if a guitar and a piano player were playing this together, there would be even though they're playing the same notes and the same chords in theory on paper, be very different ways that they're approached, very different ways that they're able to phrase, very different conventions that each one would do if they wanted to make it sound appropriate or sound correct. And that's probably like the most difficult thing for a lot of people. It's something that you've heard me talk about a lot. Like, you're playing the notes, but you're not playing the song. You know, you're playing the scale, but you're not really, you don't sound like you're playing anything with it, you know, doing just stuff like that. Like, okay, yeah, I can run the scale however fast you want to, but it doesn't actually sound like music. It's little details, little dynamic things, little rhythmic things, pushing and pulling the notes, playing ahead of the beat, playing behind of the beat, playing a little louder, a little softer, all kinds of stuff like that that really makes like all the difference. That takes it from being this like bone dry thing to being little details, little modifications. I'm hearing in my head this type of rhythm, da, 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 this push and pull from the swing, from like a slow ride cymbal pattern, right, and bringing it up and down, using like a sense of rubato to stretch some notes, shorten other notes, making some notes louder and softer, like I was talking about at the beginning when we were doing our dexterity exercises. rather than playing them perfectly consistently, we want to try actually pushing and pulling them a little bit. That just little bit of like loud, soft, and long, short coming from the right hand starts to make it swing. And so that's when we start applying the phrasing and the language or vocabulary of the convention of the genre that we're playing to the song or to the music, and actually turn it into something that sounds musical, rather than just a bunch of notes. But get the notes memorized first, then listen to like every version of the song you can find, because there's a million of them when it comes to this song, a million of them. But and you start transforming it in to the piece of music. So, what do you guys think? Any parts we need to go over again? Anything in particular we should do? Hit up. This business here. And that lead sheet from the real book is super easy to find too. If you don't have a real book yourself, that might be a cool thing to share, like in the description down there. If it's not, I don't know if you'll get in trouble for it or not, but might be a neat thing to make available to people for when we do, Jazz Thursdays or something, or what day it's, no, today's Friday. We've had, let's go back over here. Let me refresh this. So, got to work on figuring out how to get more visibility. For one, obviously, we've had at times I think a max of about 4 or 5 people stop in here, but most of them, a couple of them hung out for like 30-40 minutes, but most of them were in for like 5 minutes or less, which is I guess pretty typical of like stream surfing type things. But got to figure out how to get more visibility within like sort of groups that are interested in this type of thing. And then figure out some formats that work better too. So we can have nights like this where we work on a specific song, whether a jazz song or like a theme song, you could do Metal Mondays or something like that. Or, do a day where we just work on scales or chords or something. Or have like a free-for-all day. Any number of other things. But then I've got to remember to actually like share on Facebook and other things to get more people in here, because that's the only way I'm going to get a better idea of like, what works is actually having like people in here doing stuff. So I mean, like, if you want to schedule things, for the most part, evening is going to be better because I usually have lessons in the afternoon. I'm doing lessons on Zoom, but if I do those usually on like Tuesday and Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that, I could maybe start trying to schedule some earlier mid-afternoon streams, which might be better for this type of thing. I don't know. Or do that like once or twice a week, and then do like a late night Friday or Saturday night stream or something like that. That's more free, less structured. Not entirely sure. I mean, like I've said before, I don't really want it to be like a request driven thing, because then that becomes kind of madness. But, and I worry, like, I wanted to do, say, like learning songs that I don't know, like the Charlie Parker tune the dude was, the Eraser was talking about the other day. I'd love to learn that, but I feel like it's not the kind of thing you can do on a channel until you have like an audience. Because for the most part, somebody logging in and watching you try to go like that type of thing and learn that note for note from a chart like this, is probably going to be off-putting. But, so I'm thinking like maybe 3 times. I don't know. Like, what feels like too much from the point of a viewer? Is 3 times a week too much? Is, 4 times a week too much? Is there too much? There's probably too much for me, because I'm sure, like, some of the guys that stream every day, I don't know how they can do that without going crazy or get anything else done. But I feel like, only twice a week or something wouldn't be enough. This one is at 2 1/4 at the moment. We've been done with the song basically. At least between us anyway. We've been done with the song for about 10, 15 minutes. And that's another good point, though. That brings up another idea, is like, what is a good kind of stream length? Because some of these game guys will stream for like hours and hours and days in some cases, and that's obviously not really a thing that you want to do. The first couple streams we did were 3-4 hours long, something like that, but that was much less direction oriented. Every other day. So like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, something like that. And what are like peak hours on Friday and Saturday? Is it late afternoon, late evening? I would imagine for trying to reach like, teens and stuff, kids and teens, like super late night's not ideal. Like we started at 8:30 tonight, I think. Thereabouts, a few minutes, like 8:39 or something. What do you mean struggle? But but you know, so like if we moved starting time up to 7, 6, you know, or does it need to go as early as like 3 or 4 o'clock? But yeah, I've got no idea. I'm sure there are analytics somewhere for figuring this kind of stuff out. You know, and the type of content we're doing. I mean, and, is a bit different than like say a gamer. It's a little more directly engaging. At least this is. That's interesting. That's a lot more. That's a well. I mean, that's a lot more daytime than I thought. You know, I would have expected peak to be, you know, like late afternoon to midnight or something like that. But maybe that it may be that the primary demographics are a lot younger than I'm thinking. You know, I know that this is obviously going to be too late for, you know, most younger viewers. But then again, also what we're doing in a lot of this is not really geared towards younger viewers. But you know, catching like teenagers, that's probably really like where we really want to be. Teenagers and young adults, at least for some stuff. You know, we may do things that are geared towards a little older and more experienced players. But if we're looking for kind of beginner and intermediate players who you expect would make up the bulk of your viewership on a place like this, may need to go earlier, like afternoon, and then just do like late night chill jams. I wonder if I should use, like I used Let's Learn in the title here, but I wonder if I should use Let's Play so we could get the Let's Play tag on the stream, and if that might increase visibility. Because we are playing something, just not a game. You know, that's something that I think that I think a mod can add, because I think you can actually edit the title at you know, and the tags and stuff like that. So you could actually go in and like and tweak that. Let me see. I have to do that. I don't think I can do. Can I do that from inside Streamlabs? There's got to be some way to do that inside here. Otherwise, I can just do it from. No, I can't do it there. I can do it from this browser over here. Ta-da. Put that in there. Let's see what other tags we can find. No. There aren't very many tags, unfortunately, for like specific instruments or music stuff. There's kind of some vague tags for genres and things, but that's about it. Let's tweak it. See how that does. I messed with a little bit too, so I don't know if we superseded each other or anything, but need to look in need to look into how things like tags affect visibility as well, like how the Twitch algorithm or whatever works. I mean, I know there's actual sorting when you enter a category, but I don't know if it recommends streams to people based on tags or anything like that. Alright, let me go check on some of these statistics and whatnot. Basically, I need to get like one more. Where's my stream for 8 hours? So I need to stream a little bit longer to hit this 8-hour target. Then what was it? Insights maybe, channel analytics. 43 live views. 3.2 average viewers. Free streams. Yeah, so I wanted to do more. I wanted to do more research into data and things. I wonder if it might be worthwhile to get in touch with someone at Twitch too, because like there's not really, as far as I can tell, when I was looking through all the music channels the last few days or weeks really, there's not really much of anybody I can see focusing on things like instruction, like teaching and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people that just kind of like, you know, get Rock Band and jam on something, or people that play original music, those kinds of things. But there's not really anyone that I can see really explicitly doing instructional type content. And I wonder if it might be interested. If there might be anybody there that's interested in like helping with that, because maybe it's an avenue they haven't considered. Yeah, what would the happy tree of guitar be? Oh yeah, sure, your internet. That's the reason why my viewer count has been dropping by like 30%. Snapchat. I know what Snapchat is. I've never used it. I don't know how like important it is to social media aside from like girls on the internet all have Snapchat. Like, do you need a Snapchat? Do you need a Twitter? I presume Twitter is probably pretty useful for like just announcing like when you're going to do stuff in particular. See, I thought Snapchat was more for like sharing stuff one on one rather than sharing stuff in groups. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, like friend to friend. But, and that's going to be an issue. Like pretty much anything like self promotion related, like is almost totally outside of my wheelhouse. You know, I've spent all my time practicing and learning music. Not really terribly comfortable with like spamming myself places. Yeah, I would imagine if you're doing a business degree now, like you can't ignore it. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Well, so we've done the melody. If you get a set time, yeah, I'm gonna try to think. I'm gonna try to do. I really think you probably ought to do like earlier in the evening, like kick it at least an hour or two earlier, up to like 7 o'clock or even afternoon, at something like that, and do like maybe relatively short streams then, and then like Friday and Saturday do long streams, and maybe more free kind of streams like with jamming or playing specific pieces of music rather than like actually working on learning them as a group. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But kick them a couple bit earlier, and then like maybe actually make pages, music pages on Twitter and Facebook and wherever else need be. But anyways, so if we've done the melody, we've done. Right? Da 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 da. The second part. Da 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 da. Then the B section. right? I mean, I actually have a Twitter using this screen name, though I may modify this screen name specifically to the Aristic guitar, so it's a little more clear. Yeah, I have an Insta. Um, I've pretty much only posted pictures of guitar stuff on it. I mean, is Instagram useful for this, for promoting this kind of thing? I have no idea. Right? But so we've learned the melody. We can also learn the chord changes. I mean, we should learn the chord changes. But is that the kind of thing you want to do all in one stream? Is that too much information? Is that like overload? Because then, like, we have to work on what the chords mean, what fingerings or voicings we can use for the chords, etc. 2 hours of playing guitar has tuckered you out, man. I think you might need to hit the gym there at your house a little more. That or you're just playing way too hard. Yeah, but dude, you got all kinds of exercise equipment at your house. Like I'm just over here working out with my piddly hand weights and stuff. If you guys bought commercial grade equipment, it would be. I thought that was the whole reason why you went to that one place down there in Marietta or wherever, was because they had like commercial grade equipment, and you could be all like pro. Well, I mean, you don't have to be like bloat maxing over there at your house. There's like tons of stuff you can do with your dumbbells, man, with your bar. Let me see something. Where are? Where's my stuff again? see my old strings. In here somewhere. So that one was stream summary 334. Plus 2. So that was like 5 hours. And then we are at 240 for this one. You want to get to where like you can't even like bend over because you're just like a solid giant like barrel here for your core. Like you just feel your arms rubbing up against the insides of like your chest. You can't really move them. Is Bubblegut peak male performance? You pour milk all over yourself. Right, let's see. Okay, so according to the analytics inside Twitch, 30% of the views that I've had like directly from Twitch, 30% have been people just browsing, 30% have been followers, and then 20% have been searches. So you got to start finding ways to get in those searches. Maybe the Let's Play will help, because at least until you get like a decent number of viewers, browsing is going to be like super hit or miss, because you're always going to be stuck near the bottom somewhere. Only 6% of 17 views, which is a pretty small number of views, have come externally from outside either Twitch or direct views. So I mean, that's just kind of improvising and arranging through the changes of the song, starting off with that melody as an outline. unnecessarily busy and showy, but you know, it's the internet, so. But a fun thing you can do is you can start taking that melody that we've learned, and at least if you don't want to play the full chords yet, or you're not comfortable with the full chords yet, we haven't really gone over them, maybe we'll save that for the future, but is just play the root note of each one of those chords underneath the note that's ringing out in the melody, because it gives you all this space to do it. Underneath that C, you can play an open A or play the fretted A here. There's the low G down there. Moves up to the C, which is the next melody note anyway. Low F sharp, B, low E. If you want the movement. They start to kind of like line up with each other. The low melody notes actually are the same as the bass notes of the chords. You can start making a kind of simple, pretty arrangement really without doing a whole lot, just by adding those bass notes in. You start to do little walking movements up to them. Little suspensions of the chords like that too. Just replacing the third with the four briefly. Another cool trick is when we get to that E minor, especially in the first ending, is to suddenly shift up to an E7, raise that G to a G sharp, and now we have the 5 of the tune, the next chord. It gives you a cool lift. that voicing in B minor 9. Very spooky. Let me check on something over here. I don't know if that's an insult or not. Interesting idea. Getting conflicting information on this business here. Let me check this. So I think especially doing a song like this that's a little longer and maybe a little outside of like the wheelhouse of a normal person, it might have to be broken down into two streams, or like, you know, first half of the stream we learn a song, second half of the stream we do random other things, you know. Because I do feel like, well, and if there are more people in here, it may be able to be stretched out a little bit more, but I feel like trying to do all this other stuff, add all these other things, like different chord changes and how to actually read the chords and rhythmic stuff like that, maybe just complete overload. And as we know, I can be a little bit inclined to information overload. Yeah, do just like, you know, melody lesson and then do chord lesson later or something. But some songs, you know, like a lot of rock and pop songs, that's not really an issue. But songs like this are maybe a little more involved. Things to think about, things to consider. I'll look into making like well, like I said, I do actually have a Twitter. I just don't think that I've ever posted anything on it. But I'm looking at making up a schedule, getting kind of a basic plan laid out, maybe making like a Facebook, like a music page on Facebook, something like that, to have like a thing to follow there. Then looking more into this into the analytics and seeing like ways to possibly get more visibility. And how's the video quality in this one, by the way? This was with using the like the bypasses that I found, because last time it would stuck my source at like exclusively at like 512. But this time I'm seeing 720 at least, you know, in my options. This is also though using like hardware acceleration and hardware encoding, or no, software encoding. But the video on my like the browser I'm monitoring on is a little dark compared to like what I'm seeing in Streamlabs. Yeah, the graininess is going to be inevitable until we get rid of the until it can get rid of the webcam on the computer. Has it been like yeah, I'm using the umbrella lights. But has the stream been like steady? Because like on the computer I'm monitoring on, it's dropped a few times and had a few issues and errors. Hmm. I wonder about the like the encoding quality and stuff here. Let me take this and take that off the screen for the moment. But I think this computer can handle the software encoding. You know, I'm using like X264 right now. And then 720 at 30 FPS, which is the best that this camera can do. Another question is, so like I've been sitting fairly close to try to make sure that my hands were really visible, or my left hand at least has been really visible, but you know, kind of cuts off the top of my head, which is inevitable because of my height. If I sit farther back here though, to get more of me in the frame, does this make it too difficult to see what my hands are doing? You know, if I'm just playing single notes. You know, and I don't know how much of me people want to see anyway, but versus getting, you know, which way do I want to adjust? Let's see. You know, about like this, people just see the bottom of my goatee, but you can definitely see the hands a lot better. You know, I could adjust that way. Yeah, I thought about just buying a buying two cameras anyway. Because I mean, I know in the gaming community at least that having like face cam, people actually seeing you, even if you are a big ugly bastard, but like improve like gets people to participate in your community and to watch you and follow you and talk more and stuff like that. But because we're focusing a lot on instruction, you do definitely really want people to be able to see your hands. And unfortunately, unless I like hunker way over, you kind of can't get both with me. I could just be like the faceless goatee man, I guess. Or, use a different strap so I can have the guitar way up high. I mean, even higher than I normally wear it. This is actually the only way to hold the Parker where it doesn't stab you, by the way. Alright. Let's see. Let's check some stuff over here. I think we're probably about, we want to wrap it up. Using chat, for the evening. Well, anyway, we got all the way through. What are you doing? Quit that. There we go. Got all the way through the melody. Talked about some important stuff. Had a few people drop in. Got some ideas past the 8-hour stream threshold required for affiliate. But main thing is just going to be getting people in here, getting people chatting. You have to get like a minimum of 5 people chatting at one time. I think we've had 4. If we can get like Brett or somebody and some of these other guys in here all at once at some point, maybe we can get past that. But I guess I'll call it a night here. Try to actually practice the tune though. Look up the music and practice the song, because you used to kind of know it. I remember we learned it many years ago. If you get to where you can play the melody, you'll have to Zoom us, like, and show me how you're working on all that business. And then we'll do another one maybe for the chords, or do something maybe totally different next time. You know, I don't know. And again, really appreciate the logo. And I said we'll keep polishing that up. If I can find the original drawing I had like all the shadows and angles and everything like exactly the way I wanted it. But I can't freaking find the thing. Should just play nothing but Jan deck. Derek Bailey. Just drive people away. Ba-do-ba-ba-ba-dum. Ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da. And then just go listen to a million versions of the tune too. You know, try to get the everything sort of in your head. But all right, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go fix something to eat because I am starving.